Morning, and thank you for attending. I appear before you today to issue a serious warning about the county's current cash position, and considering that the Erie County Fiscal Stability Authority will not allow my office to close a short-term revenue anticipation note, but instead is demanding that it be given the power to do so. Urge the Erie County Fiscal Stability Authority to expeditiously close a sale of a revenue anticipation note on behalf of the county by the end of this month. If it does not, the county will not be able to meet its obligations as of September 30th. As of today, the county's general fund position is technically operating in the negative due to current payments. However, the county will be able to meet employee payroll and other mandatory obligations through September 30th by relying and advancing against other cash funds that we control. But on the 30th, the county is scheduled to make a $42.5 million sales tax distribution payment to the cities, towns, villages, and school districts. And unless a cash flow sale is done and completed by that date, the county will not be able to meet that obligation, nor would it be able to meet a debt service payment obligation on October 1st and another payroll obligation that we have to fund on October 2nd. As the county's chief financial officer, it is my responsibility to warn county taxpayers, employees, and our vendors that the failure to close a cash flow sale by the end of this month will be significant and will negatively impact the county. The ECFSA has refused to grant me the power to do a borrowing. Now they must complete one in an expedited timeline, even though they have never completed such a borrowing before, and there are legitimate questions whether they could do so by September 29th. If they don't, the county will not meet its legal obligations. My office first expressed warnings about the county's cash flow and cash position to the Collins administration in June of this year, when I requested them to prioritize cash requests with regards to capital projects that would be going forward. Throughout the summer, my office has worked daily with the Collins administration, and for that matter, the Erie County Fiscal Stability Authority, consistently noting the county's cash position and that we needed to close a transaction by the end of September. Originally, it appeared when my old ex-deputy comptroller, Greg Gatch, put together the first cash flow that we would not have to do a cash flow borrowing until November of this year. However, times have changed, and we do need to close one by September 30th, and for the past few months, people have been advised of that. In early August of this year, we issued a request for proposals from the banking industry to do a revenue anticipation note. We received 5 responses. We chose the best response. We put that response before the legislature and telling them that we needed to do a cash flow borrowing. They actually met in special session earlier this month to authorize my office to do a cash flow borrowing, and now I presented that before the Erie County Fiscal Stability Authority. That request was put forth on September 8th. On September 15th of this year, the ECFSA met and refused to even discuss my proposal. Instead, passed a resolution that demanded that the county allow them to do a borrowing. Unfortunately, that puts us in the situation where we are today, that I am not authorized as I normally would to go forth and close a revenue anticipation note on behalf of the county. We now sit at the mercy of the Erie County Fiscal Stability Authority and whether they can close a transaction by the end of this month. As a result of the ECFSA's actions, County Executive Collins sent over to the legislature a declaration of need, requesting that the legislature pass by a supermajority a request that the ECFSA do a borrowing. That is presently pending before the legislature and will be addressed, it's my understanding, at their legislative session tomorrow. I hope that the legislature does pass it, because at this time we need to close a cash flow borrowing. While this may seem like an extraordinary circumstance, it really is not. This is an annual cash flow issue and not an indicator of the county's current financial situation. It is partially a reflection of the failure of the county to close a capital borrowing in 2007 and 2008, and the multitude of requests we have received to fund capital projects, even though we did not have the cash in hand to do so. The administration last year and this year have requested that we fund projects. We did not fund all of the requests because we knew it would be reckless to do so. We did do some based on an agreement that we had with the Collins administration this year with regards to overlay projects for road and bridges. They requested many others. We rejected those because it just wouldn't be prudent to do so. An additional factor as to why we always need to do a revenue anticipation note is due to lagging state reimbursements to the county for health, human service, and other social programs. We're required to provide these services, but often are not paid by the state until 4 to 6 months after we provide the service. So unfortunately, we need to go to the market and close a $75 million revenue anticipation note. It is a responsibility that my office would normally have. We made the request to the authority, and they rejected it. I now call on the authority and others to expeditiously close that, even though it's possible they may not be able to do so. Some people will criticize me for saying the sky is falling and that I'm making a false warning. However, it is my duty to warn that unless a cash flow borrowing is completed by the end of the month, we will be in a fiscal crisis. One of the reasons the county suffered through its past fiscal crisis is because the then current comptroller refused to issue warnings when they saw the writing on the wall. I will not do so. I would rather warn about a potential problem and have it fixed than wait and watch the county grind to a halt and say, then we have a problem. I know that my office could close a direct sale purchase with Bank of America on Iran by the end of this month. I am not certain that the Erie County Fiscal Stability Authority could close a public sale of Iran by then. As such, I have asked my staff to begin implementing a plan to address the cash flow shortage. This includes temporary delaying all non-essential vendor payments. This is a temporary delay, and I wish to emphasize that all vendors will be paid in the long run. I am also developing additional contingency plans should Iran not take place by September 30th. These plans include an option for this office to close a RAND sale in the event the ECFSA cannot, as well as to ensure that our October 1st debt service payment is made. That has to be made. If it is not made, it has dire consequences for the county. Additionally, by a letter today, I've called upon and actually have spoken to County Executive Chris Collins, calling on his administration to immediately establish a contingency plan to do the same. I hope we don't have to implement such contingency plans, but they have to be put in place in case a borrowing is not closed. This is a serious issue. It must be addressed by all. Finally, while I am willing to work with the Collins administration and the Erie County Fiscal Stability Authority to close this transaction by the end of the month, I'm not so certain that they're willing to work with me. Yesterday, representatives of both the Collins administration and the Erie County Fiscal Stability Authority held a telephone conference call on issues related to closing the revenue anticipation note as well as a capital borrowing on behalf of the county. This office was not only specifically excluded from participating in the call, but we weren't even made aware of it until after the call was held. While the county executive signs all documents on behalf of the county, it is the Comptroller's office responsibility to actually close financial transactions and to ensure that what is being done is legal. My office not only stands ready, willing, and able to assist in a transaction, it is our county responsibility to do so, and we will. Regardless of whether the administration or the ECFSA wants us to participate in this transaction and excludes my office from participating, my office will continue to work cooperatively with the Control Board and the Collins administration to ensure that a cash flow borrowing is completed by the end of this month, which will resolve my concerns, as well as ensure that the people's business continues as it should without delay.